Good morning. Let's start today's current affair discussion. So, starting with the topic, we have taken a big, ambitious target on solar power generation in the country because India is always an energy hungry country. To fulfill our energy need, government has decided to add our non-renewable sources. So, this will definitely fulfill our requirement as well as care for the environment. In this context, in today's topic, so what will take to fulfill India's solar power dream? Okay, so solar photovoltaic, as it is called, the SPV technology, or it is called the SPV technology, solar photovoltaic cell technology, have driven India's push towards adoption of cleaner energy generation technology. From less than 10 megawatt in 2010, India has added significant photovoltaic capacity over the past decade, achieving 50 gigawatt by 2022. So, from mere 10 megawatt in 2010, we are able to cross the 50 gigawatt generation by 2022 and have a very ambitious target of 500 gigawatt of renewable energy, out of which 280 megawatt will be from the solar sources. Okay, we have a plan to generate 500 gigawatt of energy from the renewable sources. Okay, out of the 500 gigawatt of renewable energy that India has taken the target by 2030, 280 gigawatt is expected from the solar photovoltaic. This necessitates development of nearly 30 gigawatt solar capacity every year. So we'll be able to reach the 280 gigawatt of solar power generation by 2030. Fine. Because our ambitious target of generating 50 gigawatt of power from renewable sources by 2030 has a share of 280 gigawatt from the solar power. This is a very gigantic ambitious target taken by the government, but definitely government will try its best to fulfill its target of generating around 280 gigawatt of power from the solar photovoltaic sources. Fine. However, there are challenges and need to be overcome for sustainability of the photovoltaic economy. Indian solar deployment. Okay, our installation companies depend heavily on import. as India currently does not have enough module and cell manufacturing capacity. We have a big ambitious target of 280 gigawatt, but the biggest challenge before us is we don't have that much of manufacturing capacity regarding the solar power module and the cell manufacturing in our own country. In both those things, so enough of solar module as well as the cell manufacturing were lagging behind. The typical solar photovoltaic value chain consists of fast fabricating polysilicon ingots, which need to be transformed into thin Si wafer that are needed to manufacture the photovoltaic mini module. The mini modules are then assembled into the market ready and field deployable modules. Fine. This is a very technical process and we are lagging behind in this because our technological upgradation is not up to the mark in solar photovoltaic technology, and totally we are dependent upon import of this solar photovoltaic panels. India's current solar module manufacturing capacity limited to 15 gigawatt per year. The demand supply gap widens as we move up to the value chain. For example, India only produces 3.5 gigawatt cells currently. India has no manufacturing capacity of solar wafer and polysilicon ingots and currently import 100% of silicon wafer and around 80% of the cell even at a current deployment level. So see, this is the total dependence on import from abroad. Also, out of the 15 gigawatt module manufacturing capacity, only 3 to 4 gigawatt of module are technologically competitive and worthy of deployment in grid-based projects. So, for individual projects, means rooftop solar panel, it is that we have some development. But when it comes to grid-connected solar power plant, so our modules developed indigenously are not up to that mark. India remains dependent on import of solar modules for field deployment. So definitely we are totally dependent on import for field deployment. Then what is the current government policy? The government has identified this gap and is rolling out various policy initiatives to push the and motivate the industry to work towards self-reliance in solar manufacturing, both for cell and modules. Key initiatives include a 40% duty on the import of modules and 25% duty on the import of cell and a production link incentive scheme to support manufacturing capex. Okay, so this PLI scheme has been given by the government, production link incentive. This PLI in the post-COVID period, government run this production linked incentive to the manufacturer for production of the solar cell. So in many sectors it has been given, and solar cell and solar panel production is one such domain. A government is giving this production link incentive to the manufacturers. So more and more manufacturers will encourage to go for solar panel manufacturing in the country to fulfill our own demand. Fine. So also it is mandatory to procure modules only from an approved list of manufacturers. Okay, for projects that are connected to state central government grid. So far, only India-based manufacturers have been approved. While this will certainly help to motivate industry, the major challenges are related to size and technology. So you see, when it comes to grid connected solar power manufacturing, government has made it a rule that only Indian the solar grid connectivity power plants which will be selling the extra power, the power then to the grid, state grid or the power grid, so must be built on Indian solar panels. Okay, so domestic and other users may go for imported panels, but if they want to sell it to the grid, power grid, so those must be only of Indian origin, because no imported solar photovoltaic panel grid connected connection is permitted as per the present policy of the government, and this is an encouragement to the Indian manufacturers to produce the solar panel for the grid connected solar power plants, that is being encouraged by the government. Fine. Most of the Indian industry is currently turned to handling M2 wafer size, which is roughly 156 to 156 by 156 millimeter square, while the global industry is already moving towards MD10 or and MD12 size, which are 182 into 182 millimeter square and 210 and 210 millimeter square respectively. The bigger size has an advantage in terms of silicon cost per wafer, and this effectively means lower loss of silicon during the ingot to wafer processing. So we are in a small size panel format, whereas in other countries, the advanced countries, so they have moved to the large size panel format, and because that reduces the cost of the silicon in the manufacturing the plants. In terms of cell technology, most of the manufacturing still uses AIBSF technology, which can typically give efficiency up to 18 to 19% at the cell level and 16 to 70% at the module level. By contrast, cell manufacturing worldwide has moved to PERC, that is 22 to 23%, and SJT around 25%, and TOPCon, which is 23 to 25%, and other newer technology adding module efficiency to 21%. But we are at 16 to 17%, or maximum by 18 to 19% efficiency of power of the solar panel. Producing more solar power for the same module size means more solar power from the same land area. You see, so because in a solar power plant, the most important investment is land, because these are all panels have to be fixed over the land, and land being a scarce resources in our country. So because depend for land is growing, so finding suitable land. Okay, and that large land for solar power plant, so will be definitely from the small land we are able to generate more power. It will be definitely viable in the long run. Fine. Unlike, so the same less power generated from the same land using the outdated technology. Fine. So this is where is the issue. Fine. Producing so land most expensive for the solar project is scarce in India, and Indian industry has no choice but to move towards newer and superior technology as per the expansion plan. If we want to expand our solar power projects, we must ensure that we are using less of land, and over small land we are able to generate more power, because land is a scarce commodity in India due to the population, and that agricultural land cannot be diverted for non-agricultural purpose, and land is being demanded by agriculture, industry, and almost all the other sectors in the economy. And how this small land can be able to generate more power by fixing the solar panel, which are more advanced and which are more energy efficient. That's the big challenge before our planners right now. Then raw material supply. There is a huge gap on the raw material supply chain side as well. Silicon wafer, the most expensive raw material, is not manufactured in India. India will have to work on technology tie-up to make the right grade of silicon for solar cell manufacturing. And since more than 90% of the world's solar wafer manufacturing currently happens in China, it is not clear how and where India will get the technology, because China has a bigger command over the solar wafer manufacturing, because 90% of solar wafers are manufactured in China. So, how to get the cotton price is beyond India's control, because so not only the neighboring country, but China manufactures 90% of the total world solar wafer manufacturing. That means China, you can say, has a total market control over the solar wafer manufacturing. Other key raw materials such as the metallic paste of silver and aluminium to form the electrical contacts too are almost 100% imported. India is more of an assembly hub than a manufacturing one, and in the long term, it would be beneficial to move up to the value chain by making components that could drive the price and quality of both cell and the modules. So we in India import all the raw materials and just assemble it here rather than manufacturing it in our own country. So it is high time that we should think of adding technology or manufacturing those things in our own country. Right. So the more research we need to make ourselves able to go for manufacturing the solar panel in our own country. Okay. Academic plus industry, establishing state-of-the-art manufacturing facility for cell, modules and raw material needs access to technology. It is unlikely that companies that have spent millions of dollars on in-house, in-house and external R&D would make it easy for India to access the latest technology easily or at low cost, because globally this is the most important energy research going on, and companies have spent billions of dollars on this research, and no one is it is not expected so that any of the all these will right now they will share the technology to India, okay, at that easily, because okay, so it will be very difficult, okay, for those, because they have spent billions of dollars, okay, and then how they will be able to go for this, okay. So we cannot expect a miracle or that they will allow the country who have done research will be able to uh, they'll be willing to provide this at uh, as per our requirement, because as you know, so it will be very unwiser on their part to go for give the technology what they have developed through indigenous research for a long period, and by where they have spent billions of dollars in the process, right. Okay, then okay, and they cannot sell it to India at a lower cost. Then India has hardly invested in creating high quality TRN technology centers such as the IMEC Belgium or the Health Center in Netherlands, which can help the industry to try and test technology in the cost-effective manner. So some country like you can say Belgium or Netherlands, they have invested in crores or billion for developing the technology, and we are much lagging behind, fine, in this particular domain. Okay. India needs to create such industry-like center to work on specific technology domains with clear roadmaps and deliverables for the short and long term, monitored by a right mix of specialists from industry and academic. Because academy do the research and industry will manufacture it. So in both the cases, okay, so the cooperation between the two is the most expected requirement to generate. Okay. So India have to create such an industry-like center. Although India is making great progress in the deployment of solar PV modules for power generation, its path to become a manufacturing hub for the same requires more than just putting some tax barriers and commercial incentive in the form of PIL scheme, etc. So you see, for discouraging import, we are putting tax barriers. Okay, discouraging imports, we are putting more taxes on the imports. Simultaneously, for manufacturing, we are promoting the PLI scheme for the business manufacturing. But our requirement needs our thought to beyond this. It will warrant strong industry academia collaboration in an innovative manner to start deploying the homegrown technology which could in the short term work with the industry to provide them with trained human resource, process learning and root cause analysis through right testing, and in the long term develop India's own technology. High-end technology development requires substantial investment in several clusters which operate in industry like working and management conditions, appropriate emoluments and clear deliverables. Fine. So these are all requirements to ensure that India is emerging as a major manufacturer of the solar panel to fulfill the ambitious target that India has taken upon itself to generate 280 gigawatt of power from the solar energy by 2030. And for this, only dependence on imported solar panels and wafer will not fulfill the target. Rather, it will put a big economic pressure on us. But if we simultaneously try to develop our own indigenous panel manufacturing capacity through research of academic and industry, India will be able to achieve its target and that in economic manner, and which will be viable with the updated technology in this particular domain. Fine. Then the second topic I'm discussing on this quit India, the ordinary Indian took the street with a vote to do or die. So 8 years ago, so on 9th August 1942, so the call of quit India was given by Gandhiji. But although Gandhi was arrested, so common people carry on the message of Gandhi. The people of India learned the decisive final page of the struggle of independence. It is mass upsets against the colonial rule on a scale not seen earlier, and it sent out the unmistakable message that sun was about to set on the British Empire. The earlier slogan that sun never set on British Empire was somehow challenged because the Quit India movement demonstrated that sun is going to soon set over the British Empire. Mahatma Gandhi, who had told the Raj to quit India on the previous day, that is August 8th, was already in jail along with the entire Congress leadership. So when August 9 done, the people are on their own out to the street, driven by the Mahatma Gandhi's call, do or die. The truly people-led movement was eventually crushed violently by the British, but by then it was clear that nothing short of their final departure was acceptable to Indian masses. Quit India movement demonstrated that the people in India are in no mood to tolerate the British rule any further. So it was very well realized by the colonial masters that our days are numbered and sooner we live better for us. That is what. So this becomes issued for the first time such a popular mass of rising without the leaders, because most of the important leaders of the Congress were behind the bar and by the British government, and British government carried on repressive measures to stop it, but still the movement was a mass one that compelled them to realize that our days are over. Fine. While factors leading to such movement have been building up, matters came to an head with the failure of the Cripps mission. The Cripps mission's failure in fulfilling the ambition of Indians led to the Quit India movement to be launched by the Congress. With World War II raging, the beleaguered British government needed the cooperation of its colonial subjects. With this in mind, in March 1942, a mission led by Sir Stafford Cripps arrived in India to meet leaders of the Congress and the Muslim League. The idea was to secure India's wholehearted support in the war, and the return offer to Indians was the promise of self-governance. So the Cripps mission arrived in India and meet the leaders of both Congress and the Muslim League. So, on soliciting the Indian support to the British in the Second World War, and in return, so they promised that British will grant self-rule to the Indians. So, once the India wholeheartedly support them in the Second World War, But things did not go that way. Despite promise of the earliest possible relationship of government in India, Cripps only offered dominion status, not freedom. Also, there is a provision for the partition of India, which was not accepted to the Congress. Cripps mission has two major purposes. One is in place of that independence, so it permitted for dominion started, no self-rule. Okay, and second of that, so they have a plan for partition of India, British India, which was also not accepted to the Congress. The failure of the Cripps mission made Gandhiji realize that freedom would come only if Indian fought tooth and nail for it. Without a struggle, violent, non-violent, peaceful struggle. So these Britishers are not going to grant us independence. It was very well realized by Gandhi, and accordingly he has given the call. The Congress was initially reluctant to launch a movement that could hamper Britain's effort to defeat the fascist forces, but it eventually decided on a mass civil disobedience at the Working Committee meeting at Congress at Wardha in July 1942. It was decided the time had come for the movement to move into an active phase. From a mere demonstration, so right now Congress decided to go for an active movement involving the people, so compelling the colonial master to quit the country. Okay. On 8th August 1942, Gandhiji addressed the people at the Gwalior Tank Maidan in Mumbai and called for do or die. Arunasapalli hosted the tricolor on the ground, and the quit in the movement has been officially announced. It was on 8th of August 1942. The government cracked down immediately, and by 9th August, Gandhi and all other Congress leaders had been jailed. Gandhi was taken to Aga Khan Palace in Pune and later to Erawada jail. It was during this time that Kasturba Gandhi died at the Aga Khan Palace, okay, under arrest. So the people versus the Raj. The arrest of their leaders failed to deter the masses. With no one to give direction, people took the movement onto their own hands. In Bombay, Pune and Ahmedabad, hundreds of thousands of ordinary Indians clashed with the police. The following day, on 10th August, the protest erupted in Delhi, UP and Bihar. There were strikes, demonstrations and people's marches in defiance of the prohibitive order in Kanpur, Patna, Varanasi and Allahabad. The protest spread rapidly into smaller towns and villages. Till mid-September, police stations, court, post offices, and other symbol of government authority came under repeated attack because for the first time there is a violent, and because no leaders were there from the very beginning, the movement was a violent one. Railway tracks were blocked, students went on strike in school and colleges across India and distributed illegal nationalist literature. Mill and factory workers in Bombay, Ahmedabad, Pune, Ahmednagar, and Jamshedpur stayed away for weeks. In some places, the protests were violent, bridges were blown off, telegraph wires were cut, and railway lines were taken apart to disrupt the force movement, so British cannot take any action. The slogan Quit India, when Gandhi gave the clarion call of Quit India, the slogan was coined by Yusuf Merali, a socialist and trade unionist who also served as mayor of Bombay. A few years ago, in 1928, it was Merali who had coined the slogan Simon Go Back, and he also gave the Quit India slogan. Brutal suppression of protests, the Quit India movement was violently suppressed by the British. People were shot and lathi charged, villages were burned, and backbreaking fines were imposed. In the 5 months after December 1942, an estimated 60,000 people have been thrown into jail to check this movement from spreading. However, though the movement was quelled, it changed the character of the Indian freedom struggle, with the masses rising up to demand with a passion and intensity like never before. The British master would have to quit India. So it has given two messages to the Britishers that their days are over, and right now in the absence of leaders, even the Indian masses, illiterate Indian masses can take to streets and can demonstrate against the Britishers. It was the biggest realization made by the that colonial master over the Indian common people, because they came to know that these Indian common people, so who were not guided by any master, because most of the masters were behind the bar, being arrested by the Britishers, still they are able to launch a movement, and this movement will not stop unless granted independence. So that made the Britishers fully realize that our days are numbered, and the sun is going to set up the Union Jack in India. Okay, that is the second topic. Coming to the third topic, it is topical science and environment. Okay, Indian virtual herbarium. Okay, what is a herbarium? Recently, the Union Environment Ministry inaugurated India's largest online herbarium database, the Indian Virtual Herbarium and Web Portal. What an herbarium is? Okay, herbarium is a collection of dried plant specimens that are stored, cataloged, and arranged by family, genus, and species for study. Herbaria are the dictionaries of the plant kingdom and provide comparative material that is indispensable for studies in plant taxonomy and systematics. Herbarium collections are often housed in botanical gardens, arboretums, natural history museum, and universities. But right now, government is trying to create such more herbarium to know the different to keep the things in posterity. The Indian Virtual Herbarium is the biggest virtual database of flora in the country. As it contains details of about 1 lakh plant specimens. It was developed by the scientists of the Botanical Survey of India. Because this is regarding the plant life, so the Botanical Survey of India, the premier research institute in plant and forest in the country, has designed this herbarium. Each record in the digital herbarium includes an image of the preserved plant specimen, scientific name, collection locality and data, collector name, and barcode number to distinguish from others. The digital herbarium also include features to extract the data state-wise, and users can search plant of their own states, which will help them to identify region, plant, and building regional checklist. So which plant is available at which particular region. The digital herbarium has some of the oldest botanical specimen dating as early as 1696. So Botanical Survey of India, being one of the oldest premier research institution, it has a big reserve of these plant resources, and as it has developed herbarium, so it has enrich the content from its own collection. The digital herbarium has some of the oldest botanical specimen dating back to 1696. The herbarium provides information on plants in different categories such as cryptogams, spore-bearing plants, phanerogams, seed-bearing plants, and both the group are again divided into two categories, which includes the general specimen and the type specimen. Right. So this you can say is an application of digital technology to maintain a digital database of the Indian flora and fauna. Okay, for reference of the research and also for the future requirement. The Botanical Survey of India by 2024 plans to provide a platform to all the herbaria in the country so that they can display the herbarium collection on the platform. So this Botanical Survey of India, the premier research body on forest research, so the botanical on botanical aspect, so have the plan to develop or provide a platform for this, by which so it will be available to all for their research purposes, right? And the third topic that you want to take is what the PESA Act. PESA stands for, so it is what is this PESA stands for? Panchayatas Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. Okay, so Panchayatas, so PESA Act mean Panchayatas Extension to the Scheduled Area Act, PESA Act. Okay, Aam Aadmi Party leader Arvind Kejriwal declared a 6-point guarantee for the tribals in Gujarat's Chota Udeipur district, including the strict implementation of the Panchayat extension on the Scheduled Area Act or the PESA Act. The PESA Act was enacted in 1996 to provide for the extension of the provisions of Part 9 of the Constitution relating to the Panchayatas to the scheduled area. Other than Panchayat, Part 9 comprising Article 243 to 243Z, okay, of the Constitution contain provisions relating to municipality and the cooperative societies. Under this PESA Act, so scheduled area are those referred to in Article 244A, which said that provisions of the fifth schedule shall apply to the scheduled area and the scheduled tribes in the state other than Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. The fifth schedule provides for a range of special provisions for these people. So special provisions are to be made for these people. So as per this particular act, because this should bring justice. Okay. So and this should be definitely make the panchayat Raj system more efficient because so. This is the scheduled area. It will be extended to the scheduled area. Scheduled area are the areas which are tribal dominated. Fine. How this PESA Act of 1996 is supposed to work? The PESA Act was enacted to ensure self-governance through Gram Sabha or village panchayatas, village assembly for people living in the scheduled area. Because you know the tribal people are more organized on the tribal lines. So it would be better for the government to take the tribal people or their organization, okay, into confidence for any developmental program for them and involving the people in the panchayat Raj administration in the tribal area will definitely bring more acceptability or facilitate more acceptability of the system and encourage people for self-rule in their own area. Okay, so in pursuance of the objective, the Act empowers Gram Sabha to play a key role in approving development plan and controlling all social sector. This includes the process and personnel who implement policies, exercising control over minor forest products like non-timber, minor water bodies and minor minerals, managing local market, preventing land alienation and regulating intoxicants among the things. These are the control which will be given to the people through their own agency called the Gram Sabha. So the state government are expected to amend their respective Panchayat Raj Act without making any law that would be inconsistent with the mandate of the PESA Act. 10 states Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan and Telangana have notified fifth schedule area that cover partially or fully several states where the tribals are in majority. So this is to be extended to the Panchayat Raj Act to be extended to the tribal area as per the provisions of this PESA Act. After the PESA Act was enacted, the Central Ministry of Panchayat Raj circulate model PESA rules. So far, 6 states have notified these rules, including Gujarat. Based on Dilip Singh Bhuria Committee report, it was enacted on December 24th, 1996 to extend the provisions of the Part 9 of the Constitution to scheduled areas with certain exceptions and modifications. Scheduled areas means the scheduled areas as referred in clause 1 of Article 244(4) of the Constitution. These are areas identified by 5th schedule of the Constitution of India. These areas are found in the 10 states of India which have a predominant population of the tribal community, which includes Andhra Pradesh, including Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha and Rajasthan. These are not covered by the Panchayat Raj Act because the tribal area in the Panchayat Raj are not covered by the Panchayat Raj provision unless the state government extend that through special order. The PESA Act conferred the absolute power to Gram Sabha, whereas state legislature has given an advisory role to ensure the proper functioning of the Panchayat and the Gram Sabha. Okay, as per this PESA Act, so what is uniqueness? The PESA Act gives undue power to the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha is the house of the organization, the elders, people of that particular panchayat. Okay, the PESA confer the absolute power to Gram Sabha, whereas the state legislature has given an advisory role to ensure the proper functioning of the panchayat Raj and the Gram Sabha. The real power has been given to the Gram Sabha as per this PESA Act. Okay, the power delegated to the Gram Sabha cannot be curtailed by higher level, and there shall be independence throughout. This Act, the PESA Act, ensures that the power given to the Gram Sabha cannot be curtailed by the state. Okay, they should be given the power and to that will because they are the tribal area, so they have their own tribal headman and the tribal assembly. So that Gram Sabha consisting of the tribal assembly is to be empowered for monitoring the program lunch for them through the Panchayat Raj system. Fine. PESA provides the right to Gram Sabha to be consulted before the land acquisition. The consent of the Panchayat or the Autonomous District Council shall be obtained in case where the Gram Sabha does not exist or has not been constituted. So the provision is that so there must be Autonomous District Council and it will be consulted in case the Gram Sabha has not been constituted or is not functional in any particular area. In that case, the Autonomous District Council of the tribals will be or shall be taken into consideration by the administration for any development required in that particular area. Right. After the topic in polity, let us see a topic in the domain of science and technology regarding a satellite. Fine. Recently, India was able to partially successfully launch a new type of launch vehicle which are called as the short satellite launch vehicle SSLV. Okay, SSLV stands for the short satellite launch vehicle. Okay, which can take satellite to uh, small distance from up to 1,000 kilometers in the altitude. Right. We have our launch vehicles like you can say starting from SLV to ASLV, PSLV to GSLV. This is the most trusted launch engine of India, and to this we have added SSLV, short satellite launch vehicle. And the most advantage of this, as we discussed yesterday, is they can be assembled at short notice within 72 hours, and only 5 to 6 persons are required to assemble such a rocket. And the most important part is the cost. It can be cost at a fraction of cost of the satellite like the PSLV or the launch vehicle like PSLV, GSLV. So if these satellites, these rockets, launch vehicles are they become really trusted. So India can launch uh, one space mission every week in place of uh, 3 to 4 mission undertaken by ISRO per annum, because this will definitely make India a quick response space launch station where at short notice of 5 to 7 days a launch vehicle can be ready, and at a much cheaper cost satellite of indigenous companies and foreign satellites can be launched from Indian soil at a very cheaper rate. Fine. The Azadi sat is a 11 kilogram satellite built by 750 girl students from 75 schools across India. Because we are celebrating the 75th years of independence, so we are focusing on the number 75. So 75 schools across India and 7,750 students of these 75 schools across India, they have developed a satellite which is named as the Azadi satellite. The satellite will which shall be will be launched into orbit as a co-passenger of satellite accessibly. It has been launched as long-range communication transponders and selfie camera that will click pictures of its own solar panel. Right, and this Adjati sat has a mission life of 6 months. The project is expected to encourage girl students to take up the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects, and to develop to groom themselves as the future space scientists in the country. Because as you know, female are not lagging behind in Indian space and defense. Okay, because the Indian born Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams adventured to space, and coming to the development of rocket, uh, Tessie Thomas, she also headed the Agni 4 missile program, and under her able guidance, Agni 4 missile are tested successfully. So in this, so government want to encourage more girls to venture into research in space and contribute to the development of Indian space domain. Okay, so the satellite has been developed by Space Kids India, an aerospace organization creating young scientists for the country. Adadi Sat project is a first of its kind space mission with an all-women concept to promote women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM. Look at this. This STEM. STEM stands for the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where the participation of women aims to be uh, enhanced by government's effort. Right. So this Azadi Sat is a satellite fully developed by the girl students from 75 schools, and 750 girls from 75 schools are in the team which have built this satellite to be launched in the 75th years of India's independence through the new launch vehicle called SSLV. Then comes the next news on international topic on security, the Combined Maritime Forces. Okay, so CMF. Recently, India began cooperation with the Bahrain-based Combined Maritime Force. It is a multinational maritime partnership which exists to uphold the rule-based international order by countering illicit non-state actors on the high sea and promoting security, stability, and prosperity across approximately 3.2 million square miles of the international water, which encompass some of the world's most important shipping lanes. Right, it was created. What the name is Combined Maritime Forces. Okay, there are so many countries around in this. Around 34 countries are members of this Combined Maritime Forces. India is not a member, but India started cooperation with the Combined Maritime Forces. Focus. So counter narcotics, counter smuggling, surpassing piracy, encouraging regional cooperation, and engaging with regional and other partners to strengthen relevant capability in order to improve overall security and stability, and promoting a safe maritime environment free from illicit non-state actors. So this is the objective of the Combined Maritime Forces, created as a global forum for ensuring the safety and security in the ocean water. Although India is not a member, but India started developing the association with the combined maritime forces. Then the next topic is about the new START treaty. START stands for Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. It is a treaty between USA and Russia. Russia told USA that it would not allow its weapon to be inspected on the START nuclear arms control treaty for the time being because of travel restrictions imposed by USA and its allies. Because in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, travel ban has been imposed on Russia by USA and its allies. So Russia has denied that the inspection of its nuclear arsenal deployed. Okay, as per the new START treaty, Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, which is signed between US and Russia to monitor the deployed missiles by both the country and inspecting the sites due to the travel ban imposed on Russia by the global community, especially the American-led global community, in the aftermath of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. So Russia expressed its inability to allow for the inspection, right? Because already sanctioned a travel ban has been travel restriction imposed on Russia. The new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty is a nuclear arms reduction treaty between USA and Russia Federation with a formal name of measures for the further reduction and limitation on strategic offensive arms. It was signed in 2010 at Prague in Czechoslovakia and after ratification entered into force in 2011. It is expected to last until 2021. So new START replaced the Strategic Offensive Reduction Treaty (SWOT), which was due to expire in December 12. Its name it follows after the START 1 treaty, which expired in December 2009, and proposed the START 2 treaty, which never entered into force, and the START 3 treaty, for which negotiations were never concluded. As per the provisions of the treaty, deployed intercontinental ballistic missile, submarine launched ballistic missile, and heavy bombers assigned to nuclear mission are limited to 700. It does not limit the number of non-deployed ICBM. ICBM stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile and SLBM. Okay, so but it does not monitor them and provides continuous information on their locations and on-site inspection to confirm that they are not added to the deployed forces. So it has put a limitation on the number of deployment. So how many intercontinental ballistic missiles have been deployed by the respective countries? That is the focus of this START 2 treaty signed between USA and Russia, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. Fine. Then moving further, it limits its country to no more than 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads and 700 deployed missiles and bombers. It envisages sweeping on-site inspection to verify compliance, limits each country to no more than 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads. Each deployed ICBM, SLBM, and nuclear-coupled bombers is counted as one delivery vehicle against the 700 limit. Each deployed and non-deployed missile launcher or bomber is counted as one launcher against the 800 limit. So the START treaty put limitation on the deployment of the ICBM and the launcher. Fine. So because the continuous arms race between the two, the deployment of this ICBM and the nuclear warhead missiles create the or enhance the threat perception and to control it. So that is the treaty signed between the two sides as we can say confidence building measures. Fine. The implementation is again in question because the travel ban imposed on Russia in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war led Russia to say that it will not allow inspection of the digital sites of the ICBM in light of the travel ban imposed on Russia. Right. So let's see what is the topic of discussion today. The long question in this: what is microbial fuel cell, and discuss its applications. We are always in discussion of this fuel cell technology for power or energy, because the global energy need are growing. So because of the growing global energy need, we are always in search of new. What more can be done? The microfuel cell, the device that converts chemical energy to electrical energy by the action of microorganisms. It is a bioelectrical system that uses bacteria as a catalyst to oxidize organic and inorganic matter and consequently generate electric current out of it. It has applications in various fields such as power generation system, biorecovery, wastewater treatment, etc. Application. The microfuel cell are attractive for power generation applications that require only low power. Where replacing batteries may be impractical, such a wireless sensor network, wireless sensor powered by the microbial fuel cell, can then, for example, be used for remote monitoring. It's the only technology that can generate energy out of waste. So our program of waste to wealth can be very well fulfilled by this program called microbial fuel cell technology. Okay. The microfuel cell technology can be used as a convenient biosensor for wastewater streams. Wastewater is evaluated based on the amount of dissolved oxygen required by aerobic bacteria to break down the organic contaminants present in the body of water. The richer the wastewater stream is, the greater the current MFC can provide. The use of this microfuel cell is not only enclosed to electricity production and wastewater treatment, it has also been expanded to produce clean energy fuel like hydrogen and desalination process. Moreover, this emerging technology is significantly devoted to alleviating the environmental stress associated with the emission of greenhouse gases into the environment. It can act as an alternative to reduce the burden of an increased energy crisis and meet societal needs. This MFC is still a nascent technology, but very less research has been done on this, on the development of this technology. Okay, in the world, uh, we may find solutions or our global environmental problems. Hence, MFC can play a role in the future of the next generation. Fine. So let's see what are the MCQ for today discussion. Because like every day we have a number of MCQs for discussion every day on the topic that we have taken for discussion. Some MCQ based on this to make an assessment how far you have understood the topic. Okay, with reference to the solar power production in India, consider the following statement. India is the third largest in the world in the manufacture of silicon wafer using photovoltaics. Yes, we are the third because China is the first, US is the second, and India is the third. The solar power tariff are determined by Solar Energy Corporation of India. So definitely it is the tariff at what the means the grid connected solar powers will be sold by the producer to the grid is decided by the Solar Energy Corporation of India. Okay. Then comes question number two. This AI BSF technology sometimes mentioned in news is associated with it is the solar cell technology. Okay. In which so this is an advanced one in which more can be generated using this technology. Fine. So the more research is being done in this domain. Okay. Then in a recent report, what is the rank of Indian renewable energy installation? We are the third in energy installation. Okay, and we have an ambitious target of 500 gigawatt by 2030, out of which 280 gigawatt will come from the solar power. In a solar cell, which of the following effect is responsible for converting light energy to electrical energy? It is the solar photovoltaic effect, or SPV technology. So it is the photovoltaic effect. Okay. The new strategic ammunition treaty is between two superpowers. One is USA, the other is Russia. Okay. The signing 2010. And the following statement with regard to Azadi Sat recently seen in news. It is an Earth observation satellite, not a nano satellite, which will give the pictures and other things. Okay, so it carries 75 different payloads, which built by Cal students from rural regions across the country. Okay, so 75 750 girls from 75 areas have been associated with this development of this particular satellite in the 750 years of Indian independence. Then which organization or ministry conducts industrial outlook survey? It is the Reserve Bank of India. Fine. Then coming to question number 8, the government enacted the Panchayat extension to schedule area, the PESA Act. Okay. In 1996, which of the following not identify the objective? Okay, provide self-governance to the tribal areas, to recognize tribal rights, traditional rights. So to create autonomous region in the tribal area, no, this is not recognized, and free tribal people from exploitation. So except C, all other are right. So C is not the right, so the right answer. Dilip Singh Bhuria is into the PESA Act, the extension Panchayat extension of the Scheduled Area Act. Okay, the committee appointed by the central government called the Dilip Singh Bhuria Committee. Which of the following is not a member of the nation's combined maritime forces? So it is an association of 34 countries. Okay, India has recently started discussion with it, but has not been made a member of this combined maritime forces. Fine. So so many countries member, but India is not a member. Okay. Which of the following best describe the term uh, Cartesian effect? Okay, changes in the supply of money in an economy affect the prices of different goods in different proportion. If the money supply increases, the prices of different goods will increase. But if the money supply decreases, the prices will decrease. This is manifested or expressed through the uh, Cantillon effect in economy. Fine. Then PM Adarsh Gram Yojana is implemented by Minister of Rural Development. So others under the Adarsh Gram Yojana, the MP are to adopt villages and develop it to a model village. So here we have three category of MPs: the elected MP in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the nominated MP, and the Rajya Sabha MP. Fine. So we have Lok Sabha elected MP, we have Rajya Sabha MP, we have nominated MPs. Okay. So in this particular case, the MP are restricted from adopting the village of his own or the village of his or her spouse. He cannot adopt it, but all other villages in his constituency can be adopted and built to a model village. And government has launched a incentive scheme, so the MP who has done the maximum development in that particular village, so that competition will be there and they'll be rewarded. Okay. India aims to achieve 500 megawatt renewable energy by 2030, and out of this 500 megawatt, 280 megawatt will be from the solar. Out of this 500, 280 megawatt, okay, will be from the solar. 280 megawatt will be solar power. Guru Ghasitas Tiger Reserve, okay, is in Chhattisgarh where the cheetah will be introduced. Which of the following best describe the term nadis? Water harvesting structure in Rajasthan are called the nadis. Then river Devika project is in Jammu and Kashmir. Okay, so because government is taking development program in Jammu Kashmir, so this is being undertaken right now. Operation Oliva is by Indian Coast Guard to save the olive riddled sea turtle that came for mass nesting on the Arabida in the coast on the coast of Odisha during the nesting season. So many of them are killed. So the Coast Guard has taken the initiative to save these creatures which are endangered. So the Pulitzer Prize is in journalism. Mara community belongs to Mizoram, and the National Center for Disease Control is an institute under the Indian Director of General Health and Science. And the main purpose of the National Center for Disease Control health surveillance regarding communicable diseases. Both one and two are right. So friends, in our discussion, so we are discussing the important topic and giving you the MCQs and discussing with you the long question. So thereby our intention is to enhance your awareness as well as to expose you how to write an answer as well as solve the MCQ. Thank you for watching.